So today I want to talk about my long-term survival strategy. So essentially, if you're a preparedness-minded person uh, and you do it long enough and that becomes your way of life, you turn into me, a little farmer. So to be clear, I'm a city boy, multi-generations removed from the land, and I came back to the land. So I had to buy bare land and build anything. I had a few people recently said that I met that were at my place. They said, "When did you inherit your farm?" And I said, "What do you mean? When did you inherit it?" No, I bought bare land and built everything. And then their eyes get kind of big because nobody does that anymore. That's crazy talk, right? But I'm learning every day type of thing. Learning how to grow food in multiple different ways and just doing it. But one cool strategy that I'm doing, so I put in really good pastures and a starter barn behind me here, and I'd like to do a better barn. But my pasture fencing is page wire suitable for goats, and goats are hard to fence in. So really good fence, really big posts, new infrastructure in place, so I don't really have to worry too much about that. But the infrastructure I'm putting in this year is I'm taking previously cultivated land on my property, all to hayland. Now the reason for doing this is ongoing costs and for what you get out of it. So the cost of diesel right now is over $2 a liter where I'm at, and the amount that I think the government wants to tax things, that's cheap, right? So diesel's only $2 a liter. I did this grass last year, but the rest of it I just finished putting it in actually. But spent the money. So worked it up, thousands of dollars in grass seed, another $1,000 for oat cover crop to help the grassland get established. And once this infrastructure is in place, this hayland, all I have to do every year is cut it a couple times, rake it, and bale it, and haul the bales close by back to my barn. So I'm thinking that after this is all set up and I'm getting close to done, just to get bales and animal feed, I can probably do it for like 100 liters of diesel. Not much, right? You get the right size equipment, not big or nothing, but not too small. Just the right size. You figure out the system and you go out and you cut, rake, bale, haul the bales, put the bales somewhere for winter. So from grassland or just on bales, you can feed cows just on good grass, just grass fed in the pasture for 6 or 7 or even 8 months of the year where I live. They're in the pasture and you don't do anything. And then for the winter months where there's too much snow, the animals still have access, but they don't go out. They just stay in the barn because it's disgustingly cold and crappy in the winter where I live. But goats, just good quality hay. Rabbits, just good quality hay. Cows, just good quality hay. And even pigs. You can get pigs that are hay-fed pigs. Now it's a certain type of hay. You want some different types of protein growing in there, like alfalfa and stuff. But anyways, I won't get into that. I planted grass that's suitable for my type of land, and it wasn't very good farmland anyways. And who needs canola? Like, I don't eat that shit anyways. And then for grains, it's definitely not worth me getting into any sort of grains. for now I use so little. It's essentially just for chickens and a little treat kind of thing for the goats when they're about ready to kid or something like that. Or if we get into dairy, then you need a little tiny bit. But so it doesn't matter if wheat is $12 a bushel, $50 a bushel, $200 a bushel. I don't use enough that it even makes a dent. It doesn't matter to me. So it's all about the hayland, the bales, really good quality bales. I can do all that stuff: rabbits, goats, pigs, and cows, all grass fed, healthier, better quality product in the end as well. So yeah, I'm going to have, essentially, we don't use any sprays. I don't have any fertilizer costs, any glyphosate costs, any working the field, any seeding, any spraying costs. All I do now, once this is in, is just make animal feed, right? You just go harvest all the time. So I'm putting all this in place for just thinking ahead for the future, right? Just like how I put pasture fencing, just like why I built the greenhouse, and everything else I do. I'm setting up infrastructure for the future. And then just like this infrastructure, Dean, what have you been growing the last 6 years? Soil. I've been growing soil. So in here I've got literally a foot of composted wood chips mostly, and oh my goodness, it is amazing. It's actually too rich. We get some scabbing on potatoes, so we put our potatoes somewhere else, but this is extremely rich soil. And again, infrastructure, just drip lines, really good soil. I could literally work these gardens by hand with no equipment if I had to in the future. But yeah, infrastructure. So again, the greenhouse behind me, it doesn't cost very much for heating, can grow all winter long. Got all our starts in there, and not too far away is our outside gardens, right? And wood chips, like this wood chip path. It can be pouring rain, you don't get mud on your boots. Wow, life is good. But yeah, put in the infrastructure now. And my pond that I'm kind of working on over there is another water source right by where we're growing kind of the main vegetables and fruits and orchards and stuff like that. So another garden close by. So in here is kind of my permaculture orchard behind me that we started. There's 32 apple trees, pears, haskap, cherries of all different varieties, all this stuff. But there's probably 10,000 cubic yards of wood chip mulch in here. So I'm making soil. So it's, if you're not familiar with the wood chip mulch kind of gardening or whatever, it's back to Eden method is like we do farming in or gardening in really good dirt, but this serves a purpose as well. Heavy wood chips, it keeps the soil moist, keeps the soil from eroding away, and all our trees are doing really good. So again, this is, I consider, infrastructure for the future, right? So a lot of pain and suffering and work and money out, money out, money out, babying little apple trees, and then eventually all of a sudden I have to do almost nothing and it just produces. That's my strategy. Irrigation, I can probably do a whole video on just irrigation in the future, but essentially we have a really good dug well, and I built my site in a lower spot. There's higher hills around me, but I'm kind of lower, so I got a higher water table. So I essentially have unlimited water, and it's been drought for quite some time. There's standing water in our little starter pond there. I'd like to dig that out more, but a really good well. So pump system in the shop, and from the shop there is underground sprinkler lines to 2 main posts And essentially around the whole kind of permaculture and yard-ish growing, there's 1-inch trunk line just on surface around the whole fencing, the whole perimeter. And then off that 1-inch trunk line, you can tee in and put valves and bring out whatever you want, whether it's drip lines, overhead, just hoses for hand watering. Really cool system. And then with the pond next to it, I'm going to be taking water from there eventually, which would be better to water everything with than cold well water. But that's a whole other video kind of in itself. But again, put the infrastructure in now. So now none of this stuff you're going to get rich off, but I'm definitely not going to die. I'm going to have enough to pay my property tax bill and other things that we need just off the land. Plus all the food that we need as well. So yeah, it's definitely a lifestyle choice, but you gotta love it, and I actually do love it. So these, you want some tips on equipment? The old Ford tractors are my favorite. This is a 1968 Ford 5000 diesel tractor. It needs a clutch and a couple things, but I got it. The price was all right, type of thing. And that old, I welded up that old tine harrow thing, so I planted everything myself. And again, I'm not a farmer, I'm a city boy, so I'm learning every day. But another 5-10 years, I'll be the go-to master guy to know. But yeah. And my other tractor, I'll go show you. So this is a 1949 Ford 8N gas tractor. This is one of those things that human beings created that always works and never dies. They're like a belly button. Everybody had one and has one. It was cheap and it just works all the time. I hate new equipment. It's just plastic and computers and wires. I love this thing. So I just had a broadcast spreader to do my seeds for everything and harrowed it in. Work the field with the bigger tractor, but man, this one is handy, I tell you. And it just starts and works all the time. And of course, if we're talking equipment, the first gen Cummins turbo diesel, so the 1989 to 91.5, has essentially a tractor engine in it and no electrical, no moving parts really. It just works all the time, and it's really good on fuel as well, and it's got tons of power. It's just another one of those things that mankind created that doesn't screw up. That's why I own certain things. Another good thing about putting in really good fencing infrastructure, not only to keep the four-legged guys safe from predators and safe in there, but keeps the two-legged guys out too. So there's a whole other video on perimeter security. And it's like a preparedness-minded zombie apocalypse permaculture. You do the fencing for livestock, and it keeps, never had a problem out here with theft or anything like I did in the city. That was one reason I had to get out of the city. I can't take the damn crime and theft and garages and tools being stolen. I'm out. I had enough. So anyways, a really good fence, and goats are pretty happy. Hey goats! Super healthy animals when they're free ranging, doing their own thing on a large pasture. And you don't want too many animals. You don't want to be feeding them all summer too. Like there's so little money in it, it's not economically feasible as it is. But you want to have large enough pastures and not too many animals that they over eat the pasture down. So you have to figure out this balance. Have enough land that you can do all these things. But these little buggers will go. You don't have to feed them or anything. They're eating grass naturally, super healthy for 6, 7, even 8 months of the year. And then the rest of the time, I have to get them really good quality hay. Pretty simple. So a lot of money to get set up or whatever, but ongoing for the rest of my days, very minimal. So very minimal cost and quite a bit of production. So that's my strategy in, at best, super high inflation environment that we're going into. I guess the only threat is your own government's confiscating land and food and stuff like that. But Venezuela, let's see, everybody was starving in communist Venezuela type of thing. But nobody died. And here's an interesting theory. People say, well, you're building all this stuff, you have to protect it. And yes, I know that. I mean, if you want to come at me, I mean, you better bring friends and make sure you're bringing your A game. But I'm optimistic and nice, right? What are starving, hungry, poor people? Those are my customers, right? So if I'm producing in my greenhouse setup year-round fruits and vegetables, and a pretty substantial fruit and vegetable operation kind of outside, and again, really low maintenance type of stuff, put the infrastructure in place first, so it's all set, and then it doesn't have a lot of ongoing costs. And then I can produce animal feed, hay, and I can once the infrastructure is in place, you can very economically, doesn't cost a whole lot of money, produce a fair bit of meat. So all you starving customers in the city that aren't doing anything right now, just make sure you have something of value to trade to people that are going to produce food for you, right? And I'll let the local people know where I'm at too. You guys are hungry. I mean, I'm producing food. You guys didn't do anything, so make sure you have something to trade, because can't do it out of charity. That doesn't work. But, and again, this is what I'm doing. It's kind of funny if there's a bunch of people like me doing the things that I'm doing. That's the free market at work. So I'm really thinking, how do I put stuff in place where I don't have a lot of ongoing costs, so in the future I can produce cheaper things, cheaper animal feed, cheaper meat, and a better quality. That's just me in the free market doing my thing. And if others are doing the similar things, then that brings prices down. So it's fighting government money printing and bringing prices down. But don't get me wrong, the government is definitely winning with their money printing, because there is not enough me to counteract that or anything. But that's my long-term survival strategy. So it doesn't matter if we go into high inflation, hyperinflation, stagflationary depression, which I think is the actual outcome in the West right now, that I won't be affected as much, is the theory. Hopefully this video was helpful for you, maybe gave you some ideas. Maybe if you're doing similar things, it'll let you know you're not the only crazy person out there. So keep working, work hard, work while times are good and things are cheap. But if I can do it, anybody can. And I'm just a city putz that turned farmer, went country. So it takes a long time to get set up, but you need a little bit of capital to do it. But I don't know. I can't think of a better life. So take care. Like and subscribe. Appreciate it.